In medicine, for example, to confirm an experiment, a series of data coming from laboratory instruments, or, from surveys, the statistical inference is used, and in particular a famous value called significance test, or p-value. Well, even this concept, now part of the researcher's genesis, is wavering. In a recent study, attention was focused on a campaign conducted on Nature, against the concept of significance tests. With over 800 signatories, supporting important scientists, this campaign can be considered an important milestone, and a silent revolution in statistics on logical and epistemological aspects. The campaign criticizes the too simplified statistical analyses that can still be found in many publications to date. This eventually led to a discussion, sponsored by the American Statistical Association, which spawned a special issue of the American Statistician Association, titled, Statistical Inference in the 21st Century, A World Beyond P less than 0.05, containing 43 articles by forward-looking statisticians. The special question proposes both new ways to signal the importance of research results, beyond the arbitrary threshold of a p-value, and some guides to conduct of research. The researcher should accept uncertainty, be reflective, open and modest in own opinion. Future will show whether or not those attempts to statistically better support science, beyond the significance tests, will be reflected in future publications. In this field too, we are on the same wavelength as the progress of science according to Kuhn, in that we are talking about the remodulation of some descriptive statistical contents, within the scope of disciplinarity. Interdisciplinarity. In science policy, it is generally recognized that science-based problem-solving requires interdisciplinary research, as proposed by the EU project, called Horizon 2020. In a recent study, the authors focus on the question, why researchers have cognitive and epistemic difficulties in conducting interdisciplinary research. It is believed that the loss of philosophical interest in the epistemology of interdisciplinary research is due to a philosophical paradigm of science, called physics paradigm of science, which prevents recognition of important interdisciplinary research changes in both the philosophy of science and research. The proposed alternative philosophical paradigm, called engineering paradigm of science, makes alternative philosophical assumptions about aspects such as the purpose of science, the character of knowledge, the epistemic and pragmatic criteria for the acceptance of knowledge, and the role of technological tools. Consequently, scientific researchers need so-called metacognitive scaffolds to assist them in the analysis and reconstruction of how knowledge is constructed in different disciplines. In interdisciplinary research, metacognitive scaffolds help interdisciplinary communication analyze and articulate how the discipline builds knowledge. Anomaly versus interdisciplinarity. Given the above, on a superficial view of the epistemic evolution of the science, the two aspects of disciplinarity, physics paradigm of science, highlighting the anomaly, and interdisciplinary, engineering paradigm of science, metacognitive scaffold, might seem to be in conflict with each other. In reality, however, as we are just going to see right in this chapter, they are two sides of the same coin because both tend to generate paradigmatic innovation, without any conflict at all. Now we could conclude that the innovations are already progress of science in themselves, as stated in the article Scientific Basis of Dentistry, by Yegan Guven, in which the effect of biological and digital revolutions is considered on the dental education and daily clinical practice, such as personalized regenerative dentistry, nanotechnologies, virtual reality simulations, genomic information, and stem cell studies. The innovations mentioned by Guven are, obviously, to be considered as technological and methodological in nature. However, the progress of science does not move forward with this kind of innovations, which are called incremental innovations, and radical innovations, but it occurs substantially through paradigmatic innovations. In this epistemological context, Masticationpedia project, inserts itself, in order to highlight the dialectics dynamism about the progress of the masticatory rehabilitation science. Masticationpedia tends, moreover, to highlight the anomalies that inevitably stimulate a change of thought and therefore a paradigmatic innovation. Before proceeding, it could be appropriate to observe a very concrete and significant clinical case. Malocclusion. It literally means a bad, malum, in Latin, closure of the dentition. The closure is easy to understand, we believe. But the epithet bad must be understood with care, as well, because it is not as simple as it seems. To briefly grasp the concept, in this first introductory reading, we will try to present a simple, but highly debatable question, that involves a series of other questions, in the field of masticatory rehabilitation, and, especially, in orthodontic disciplines. What is malocclusion? Bear in mind that in 2019, a PubMed query about this term returned a result of only 33,309 articles, which says it all about the hypothetical terminological agreement on the subject. And therefore, very meaningful conclusions could be drawn every now and then from these articles, such as the ones we reproduce in full, from an article by Smagluk and collaborators, a somewhat sensational article that deals with the interdisciplinary approach in the diagnosis of malocclusions. Another noteworthy fact is that, if in the same 2019 PubMed was questioned on interdisciplinarity in the diagnosis of malocclusions, the result dropped drastically to just 4 articles. These premises, to the malocclusion question, indicate, on one hand, an alert about anomalies that tend to activate phase 4 of Kuhn, and, on the other, a bifurcation in the epistemic choice on the subject. One that generates incremental innovations, others 33,309 articles, perhaps, and another that prefers a new gnosiological path of paradigmatic innovation. Let's try to approach part of the concept that considers the paradigmatic innovation as essential, asking ourselves, for example, what does malocclusion mean? We will answer this question by reporting a clinical case of evident malocclusion. Patient is in a occlusal state that orthodontists call malocclusion, because he has a posterior unilateral crow's bite, and anterior open bite. It is a malocclusion that can be treated with a fixed orthodontic therapy, and, possibly, in combination with an orthognathic surgery.